You know that feeling when you watch someone get thrown away like they never mattered. And then you sit there wondering if the people who threw them away even realized what they just lost. That is exactly what this story is about, and I promise you, by the time you reach the end of this, you are going to think twice about every person you have ever underestimated. This guy was the kind of person that organizations dream about having. Not the flashy type that makes a lot of noise and needs constant recognition to stay motivated. The quiet type, the one who shows up before anyone else does, stays after everyone has gone home, and solves problems that nobody else even noticed were problems yet. The kind of person whose absence would be felt in 100 small ways before anyone figured out exactly why things stopped working so smoothly. He gave everything to the people he worked for, not just his time and his skills, but the kind of loyalty that does not calculate return on investment before deciding how much to give. He believed in something, in the work, in the people around him, in the idea that doing the right thing in the right way would eventually be recognized for what it was. That belief was the most expensive thing he ever held onto because the people at the top were not looking at what he was actually doing. They were looking at optics, at who was visible, who was loud, who made them look good in rooms that mattered to them, and someone who works with his head down, who lets results speak instead of pushing himself into every conversation, who does not play the political game because he genuinely believes the work should be enough. That person is very easy to overlook when decisions need to be made quickly and impressions matter more than reality. When they let him go, it was not even dramatic. That is the part that stays with you. There was no confrontation, no real explanation, no acknowledgement of what he had contributed. Just a decision made in a room he was not in, handed to him like a formality, by people who had already moved on to thinking about the next thing before the conversation was even finished. He walked out of that building carrying something that nobody had given him and nobody could take away. Every skill he had sharpened, every problem he had solved, every lesson he had learned from years of doing things the right way when the easier wrong way was always available. What the people who discarded him did not understand is this: when you throw away someone who has been quietly carrying things that needed to be carried, you do not just lose them, you lose everything they were holding. And sometimes you do not find out exactly how much that was until the weight of it lands on everyone who is left. He did not spend time being bitter. This is the part of his character that is hardest to understand for people who have not been there, because bitterness feels like the natural response, the justified response, the response that makes sense given what happened. But bitterness is energy pointed at the past, and he had things to build. What he built was not built to prove something to the people who let him go. This matters, because everything built purely for revenge has the shape of the wound that created it, and that shape is not always the shape of something that lasts. He built it because he finally had the space to do things entirely on his own terms. No compromises made for the wrong reasons. No energy spent managing relationships with people who were never going to see him clearly anyway. No more carrying things that were never his responsibility to carry in the first place. The world found out about him again, not because he announced himself, not because he came back looking for acknowledgement from the people who had written him off, but because what he built could not stay quiet. Quality that Reel has a way of making itself known, without anyone having to market it, and the people who once sat in a room and decided he was disposable had to sit with the specific kind of discomfort that only comes from one thing: realizing that the ace you discarded just won someone else the game.